Ever since I did um, my meditation trip, I haven't had as much energy to seek spiritual or like states of consciousness or awakening or whatever. Like, it's always on my mind, but um, yeah, there hasn't been really a lot of like um, there hasn't really been much discipline to like do meditation or self-inquiry or whatever, or to like find the answers or whatever. And I don't think like I'm done, like not at all. But what I do think is that I'm kind of setting up camp, so to say, so to speak. Like, I'm happy with where I'm at for the most part. Like, there's still a voice in me saying like, oh, wouldn't it be good to like meditate, at least a couple hours every day, and really like go deep with this awakening shit and self-inquiry, but so I used to meditate every day. A bit over 2 years ago, I made the decision to meditate every day, and I pretty much, for the most part, like for the vast majority of the days, I was doing that. And but ever since I came out of the retreat, I kind of gave up on it. Like I did it for a bit, and then it's like, I do it here and there. Sometimes I do like 10, 20, 30 minutes, like here and there. Sometimes it's consistent. I do it for like a week, and then I don't do it for a week, and whatever. It's not like this thing that's like I have to get my meditation done. I have to, I have to do it. And I think there's pros and cons with that. Like there is there is positives to saying like, yes, I have to get my meditation in every day. But there's also negatives because you're not like free flowing. You're not doing what nature wants to do. You're like forcing yourself, and I think that effort can be good, but it can also be a hindrance. And I think it's kind of good to explore the extremes of it. So like doing like hardcore meditation, like making sure you get your meditation in every day, and then being like, like fuck it, I'm just gonna meditate if I feel like it. And that's where I'm at the moment. And I do sense in the future I am gonna be a bit more hardcore on it. Like I'm gonna, because yeah, but like at the moment I'm just like I said, I'm setting up camp, like, because I'm enjoying like where I'm at. Like meditation has given me. It's a tool that I can use still. Like even if I'm not consistent with it, it has taught me a lot. Like, and the technique is still there, and I can bring it to mind, and it's become a part of my life now. Like, it's become a part of how I operate, and it's interesting because some things have fallen away. Like, some things are no longer there that were operating before, that like caused some anxiety or some depression or whatever. Like, some things, like, it's just not like it's not as easy as it was before to suffer, because now I'm more aware that a lot of the suffering is unnecessary, and not even like based on any truth. Like a lot of the time we suffer, in our minds of like, you know, creating this whole sense of a self and other and the world, of like, oh, I'm this person and what do other people think of me and whatever, all this. And meditation has shown me like that I just don't fucking know anything. Like meditation has shown me that all I know is this experience, and I don't fucking know what this is, and I don't know. Like, there seems to be less care for a self-image. It's still there, but it's not as much. And I don't know if this is because of meditation or this is just a natural part of growing up, a natural part of maturing, a natural part of adulthood. It could be a bit of both. I don't know. But there's less, less like care for like maintaining a self-image, and there's less energy trying to there's less energy within me that tries to be perceived a certain way by other people, and that just like takes off a lot of fucking suffering, because we put so much energy into try and maintain this self-image, and when that energy decreases, you got more energy to just do the shit that you love to do, without, having to care about, like, oh, what are people going to think of me, and what am I going to think of me, and shit like this. Like, and you just start to see that a lot of the cultural and social kind of programming that you have acquired throughout the years is just all bullshit. Like, it's still there, like it still exists within people, and it still exists within your mind. I mean, it can still, sometimes it falls away, but you start to see that it's like, oh, that's not really true, is it? Like, like, just thoughts, happening, and it's like, I don't know. So in no way do I think that I'm done with meditation and awakening and whatever. And, I still want to put effort in. There's still that seeker energy within me. And, I think ultimately awakening is just surrender. Surrender to life, surrender to reality. And just let reality do what reality wants to do, without imposing this artificial illusion of doership or agency or volition. I mean, they're just synonyms for the same word, but yeah. Things just happen as they do, and like you cannot put effort in to awaken. Like, it won't work that way. But I think for some people, you have to put in the effort to realize that the effort doesn't work, and then you have to surrender, So it's part of the kind of process. Meditation has also made it so much easier to just allow what is and not to resist shit. Like, when I'm feeling anxious, when I'm feeling sad, like, it's not like a big deal as it used to be. It's like, because you know, a lot of the time, usually we would think like, if we're anxious or we're depressed or something, it's like, oh, who does that make me then? You know, it's like, oh, now, like, I'm some fucking anxious person. Fuck, well, I don't want to be a fucking anxious person. Fuck this, I want to be a confident person. Or when you're depressed, it's like, I don't want to be a fucking depressed person. I want to be a happy person. So, again, like, meditation decreases that kind of selfing process. And so, when you're anxious or depressed, it's not like, I'm anxious or I'm depressed. It's like, you know, it's just natural, you know, like, emotions are natural. And it's it's just happening based on the previous conditions that you went through, that you go through. You know, I didn't choose to be brought up a certain way, you know? Like, that wasn't my choice. And things just naturally happen. I get depressed, I get anxious from the conditions that was brought up in, you know? So it hasn't really nothing to do with me. And the moment that you can accept it because of that, because it's not like, because you realize that it's not a personal thing, it makes it easier. So at the moment I'm just kind of like working on some films. Got a couple short films in the making. And I'm enjoying it. Like, it's for the most part it's not like this rushing thing that I have to rush and do. Or like, I have to make this so I can, you know, be perceived as a filmmaker, or that I have to, you know, prove myself to others or myself. I have to make something that I'm proud of and that other people are proud of, or that, you know, think that I'm a worthy filmmaker or whatever. There's still some of that left. Still some of that exists, you know, like, the reasons that I'm, like, some of the reasons why I'm doing film are coming from the ego. Like, some of them, the reasons are still like, I want to, like, make a good film, so it's like, you know, I can feel good about myself that I've created something good, and I can feel prideful, and I can so there's all that, you know, it's still going on. But, you know, before, when I would make films and shit, like, over the last few years, like, I mean, it's been difficult because of this, but I've been making videos and shit, not short films, but just like, you know, YouTube videos, not this, but other stuff. And a lot of it has been like this, I don't know, this like rushing drive, you know, because I need to prove myself or prove a point or something. But yeah, doing these short films, I've been more able to take my time with it and enjoy the process rather than try and rush to the finish line, you know. It's still there, sometimes it's still there, sometimes I still try and rush. But I think it's just, you know, like, over time, I think I'll just realize that, you know, like, nothing's worth anything. Like, nothing really matters. It doesn't really matter if I make a film or not. It doesn't matter if I have anything to show for my creativity and my talent. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if people recognize or see my potential and talent and creativity and my skill sets. Like, over time, I think I will realize more and more that it doesn't matter. You know? And I'm just gonna create because that's, something to do. What are you going to do with this life, Creating's fun, what are you going to do with this life? You're just going to have fun, like, making films can be fun. But only when it's fun. But I see a lot of people and they're very trapped in this kind of cultural position of, I've got to make something of myself, I've got to prove my worth, and I've got to, I've got to have something to show people that, I'm someone of worth and I've got something that, you know what I mean? Like, people are constantly doing shit to prove themselves, to prove the validity, to prove the worth of their existence, to prove that, they deserve to exist, Because I feel like a lot of people, would feel shit about themselves if they didn't do any like work, didn't, create shit, or, like, a lot of people create this identity for themselves out of their work, It's like one of the first questions you ask people, like, what do you do? It's like, I'm going to ask, what do you do, so I can judge you based on, what you do and how much you do in it. And then I'm going to, judge you whether you are a human that is worth existing or not, And people pick up on that, and that's why they go and pursue shit, because they don't want to be perceived by other people of being worthless and unworthy of existing. But it's a fabrication of the mind, and as time goes on, I'm giving less and less of a shit of what people think of me. Like, if I'm not doing anything, I don't really give a shit I don't give a shit what people think of that. If someone asks me, what do you do? And I'm like, you know what? Nothing at the moment. Like, I'm not really doing anything. Like, more and more, I just don't give a shit if they think that I'm being lazy or not a good enough human being. Like, that's, if, that's their own suffering. Like, if they're, projecting this kind of judgment of like, oh, you're not doing anything, you're kind of shit, or you're kind of boring or whatever, like, they're just suffering from that, Like, if you're content with doing nothing, why does it matter what other people think? So you only know your own mind. And your mind creates other minds. But the other minds that your mind thinks that there are other minds, but you only know your mind. Right? So the other minds that you think exist independently of you, outside you, that's happening within your mind. You're creating other minds in your own mind. Yes, people are talking at you. People give off energy. But you're the one that determines what that means. And how it's going to affect you. And if it even affects you. Like, nature's just doing nature's thing. How are you going to respond to that, And how you respond to it is, it's all on you, Like, a lot of people get offended by shit, but it's like, it's like, oh, I can't say this because someone will get offended. And there's definitely a line, like, are you actually being offensive? Or are they just, like, if you're like genuinely kind and compassionate at your heart, then like saying a joke or something that offends somebody, like, has nothing to do with you. Like that's just them creating their own suffering for themselves. And they don't realize that that's what they're doing, but anyway. So I am. I feel more at peace with life. I mean, for the most part, of course, there are still downs, ups and downs. Um, but I mean, when I look back at my life a few years ago, like, I am not as resistant towards life. For the most part, it's not always like this, but I do still sense a lot of avoidance. Like, I sense within myself, like, I don't know what to do with myself. Like, sometimes I'm just like standing around in my room, and I'm just like, what should I do? What do I do? And I do sense that it's like I'm trying to do shit because I'm avoiding some kind of truth in me. You know, like I'm avoiding just sitting with myself, and there is still this energy of like I have to do shit. I have to constantly be doing something. And there's still energy of like I have to prove something. Like making this video, it's like, I mean, yeah, this video helps me just express thoughts, but it's also like, part of me is like, I want people to understand me. But not just that, it's like I want people to recognize me as someone with this understanding. I want people to know that I'm this person that knows things. That's why that's the the egoic drive in like making films and stuff. Like I'm gonna make this existential film that explores these kinds of themes because I want people to, like the natural part is like I want to naturally share like wisdom or knowledge, these kinds of themes. But there's an egoic aspect to it that's like I want to be recognized for, you know, being the owner of this knowledge. I want to be recognized as this person that has this existential knowledge and that thinks deeply and whatever. Like I'm attached to this identity of like a philosopher or I don't know, someone with wisdom or shit, like. And I that drive is like I'm constantly trying to prove something, you know. So it's interesting, very interesting. But I think awareness is curative in and of itself, meaning that once you're aware of something, it will change with the alignment towards nature. You know, once you're like, for example, like if you're an alcoholic, once you're like super aware of every like thought you have about alcohol, and once you're aware of like you drinking it, once you're aware of like all the effects that it has in the moment, 2 hours after, the next morning, the next week, the next month, if you're like really aware of the thoughts you have around it and the very actions of it, you'll start to, like, you'll begin, your thought process will begin to be like, hang on, I don't think this is actually very healthy. I don't think this is actually very like natural or, and that's nature just basically saying like, that's just nature like aligning itself with what's, healthy and what's like, holistic, like whole, like, what's, just true and not, yeah, I don't know, like, so I think, yeah, like, I am aware to some extent that the things that I do because I want to prove a point, or I want to prove to myself or others that I am worthy of something or other. And I think just the more aware the more aware I am of my intentions to do things, they'll naturally change and they'll naturally be aligned with what's true and what's, natural and healthy. Anyway, just some thoughts, just felt like making a video, so thanks for watching if you watched. I'll see you in the next one.